Gonna do an episode on my
And
name one day.
live. Hi, everybody. Rebbetzin Bat-Chen Grossman here, together with Franciska, and she is going to introduce herself. She is awesome. Go ahead. Tell us what makes you so awesome and why I like you so much.
Thank you so much, Rebbetzin Bat-Chen. It's such an honor to be in your group, doing a live on your podcast. Do you call this a podcast?
I call it a live.
The lives. Okay. So it's such a pleasure and honor to be here. Thank you for having me. And my name is Franciska. I started out as a singer, composer, moved on to producer, podcaster, and now coach, where I help women make a ton of money in the arts fields where it's connected to audio, video, and social media.
Ooh, awesome. So when I was a guest at Franciska's podcast, that was a highlight for me. That was super cool. And we got to talk about what she does and what I do and how they intersect. So tell us a little bit about what you 2 cents.
Okay, so you got disconnected. Could you just repeat what you said, your last sentence?
Yeah. Oh, you're getting disconnected. Okay. Disconnect. Where? Internet issues. Are we connected again? Everybody hear us. Can you please comment down below? Say, yes, I can hear you. I'm happy I'm here. That would be awesome. Okay, so I was asking if you could tell us, we were talking before last time we spoke when it was just about the intersection between what you do and what I do. So what I do is I help women love their marriage and really make their, transform their marriage into the next level and the most beautiful thing it is. And we were talking and you said that some of your women are scared to go and be successful. That gap that they're so worried about. If right now, then if I go out of my comfort zone and get myself to a higher, going to be higher than my husband, maybe it's going to shake up the equilibrium. So tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, yeah. And this is something I'm realizing on my end, meaning when I'm speaking to women, they're not coming in as like with saying, I really want to be a famous, singer or a famous podcaster or build a huge brand, but I'm nervous my husband is going to, feel threatened. That's not how this starts. This is something that I'm observing on my end, and I'm figuring out based on the way they're speaking and their fears and how they're so comfortable in just the mommy space with like their passion being a hobby and their music or their teaching is just something they do to fulfill themselves. And as they speak, I try to ask them questions where they can really ask themselves or really go deep and figure out, are they just trying to stay in a space that feels safe and comfortable to them? Or is there something and that they're scared of something? There might be a fear that may be preventing them from going for something they really want to do, which they clearly express when they speak to me that they want to go do something and it's so uncomfortable and scary. So based on our conversations, we discover and unfold that there are lots of fears connected to the marriage and the dynamics inside families. And naturally, Orthodox women are, we're raised and we're trained. I don't want to use the word groomed here, but we are really molded to fit a certain role. And if you haven't been taught that in school, then it was in seminary, maybe somewhere else. And maybe it's your husband telling you have to fit a certain role. And when you step out of that, what?
Or your parents. I mean, it comes from the house, it comes from school.
I guess I didn't have that growing up so much. So yes, it definitely can start at home. So absolutely, you are absolutely right. It starts all the way from the beginning, when you're, who do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a mommy. So that, you hear me or we're getting? Are you there? Can you hear me, people?
I don't know. I got disconnected, but I yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. So
is it working?
Yeah, now I hear you.
Okay, cool. So yeah, you said when people ask, what do you want to be when you grow up? Then they say mommy.
Well, so that's
an awesome thing, by the way. I want to.
Yeah. And that just shows how early all this starts.
Yeah.
The connection is so bad. I don't know how delayed I'm hearing what you're saying.
Oh no. Okay, so go back to your thing. You were speaking well, and we were picking up on what you were saying. So keep going.
So once a woman decides, I'm going to go and pursue something that's important to me, something I feel is my tough kid, or something I have to go do, things can change. Dynamics can change. First of all, just practically speaking, first, you need to start prioritizing your work. So putting in the time, which means taking the time away from other things. And if you're already a mom with a family, that automatically, like before you're even making any money or making an impact or building your brand, you have to first put in the work. It doesn't just happen at the same time. So there needs to be definitely this.
You have to put yourself first, which is the biggest, scariest thing. That's before you even do anything. You first have to actually put yourself first in the priority list, which is a very long climb from where we are to begin with.
Yes.
Most of the time.
Sometimes I spend an entire session with a potential client or a client just trying to get them to answer, what do they really want? And they cannot answer that question. It's this and this and this and this. And I'm like, but what do you want? Or why do you want that? And just getting down to the basics, because it's so removed, like your sleep, your nutrition, your exercise, your self-development, your spiritual development, your relationships, everything's on the back burner when you're, especially post-COVID, especially if you had anything else going on in addition to COVID, illness, unfortunately, or any financial issues, or any educational developmental issues. Maybe situations in your family changed, a death or birth or other things, and that drastically, or marriage, or you missed certain events in your family because no one was around. And that drastically changes the dynamics. And for myself personally, I had a baby 6 months ago, and now my kids are at school. This is like my third day. And it's kicking in. The fact that I'm going out of survival mode, and I'm like, what do I need to do right now to start refueling my cup? Because I was running on adrenaline for the past 6 months on my own. I mean, with my husband, but there was no support around. Absolutely no support. And it's kicking in, and it's so painful and hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's been difficult. This is one of those things that, you either were in a good place, and so you were stuck together in one house for a long time and trying to survive it together, or you were at each other's throats trying to figure out how to find some alone space within that, squishy space. And they're both okay. They're just what is. And it's not something that reflects that something is not okay with you, but it just is. And what do we do with that? Some people are trying to compare themselves to others and seeing other couples, or, Facebook is a great place to go see how everybody's doing fine except me. Then, just remember, everybody's human and they're all having things. Even the best couples are having a hard time, but it's what you do with it. And that's really important, what were you saying before that? Like, what do you want to do? So one of my problems was when I was setting goals, my goals were all related to my husband's goals. Like, I wanted so badly to help him and to do for him and to empower him that I had absolutely no goals of my own. And Like they, I just, even when I had to come up with my own goals, they all had to do with him. And it was really hard to separate the two. Like, you mean I actually get to think about what I want? That was very hard. It took me a long time. And even now, I'm just like, wow, that's really cool that that's what I want. Like by me doing this and really getting out of my comfort zone and putting myself out there and starting this business, I have gained so much understanding of the power that it has on your marriage when you put yourself first, and like yes, Nicole says same. That's amazing. Hi, Nicole. That's exactly it, is we think that in order for our marriage to be successful, we need to put ourselves down and let everybody step on us and just, make sure everybody else is happy and just, I don't know the word for that, but like really appease everyone. Guilt also plays a role in priorities. Yes, because when you put yourself first, the first thing that comes into your head is, this is wrong. It's not supposed to be this way. But that's because that's what the world is telling us. The world is saying everybody else has to come first. But I heard Kathy Heller saying something amazing. She says, you don't have to put yourself on fire to keep other people warm. And she had to go through that understanding and really like put herself first. When you take care of yourself, then everyone around you wins. It's a total win-win. And that's what is so amazing. Like when I work with my clients, one of the first things we do is we put into place the one thing that you're consistently going to do for yourself because you need it, because you want it. And then we align, by the way. We're not doing it, against everyone else. Like I'm not stealing time from my husband or my kids to go pray. I made sure to talk about it with my husband and to talk about it with my kids and say, this is important to me and we're all going to work together to make this work. So it actually built us and unified us in a way because I actually had what to say and I was able to communicate it. But first I had to know what I want. And that's the hard part. What do you say about the guilt? Because Nicole says guilt. Here, I'll put it on the screen for you.
Guilt plays a role. So guilt is one of the first things or skills that I would recommend anyone mastering. There's almost nothing positive besides for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur time, where it belongs. That's part of a redemption and part of your avoda to, cleanse yourself. Through the rest, or anytime you need to apologize. But any other time, there's no positive use to it. It's there as a self-sabotaging mechanism to prevent you from doing anything positive. It keeps you down. Ask yourself, why am I feeling guilty? Is there anything positive that this voice in my head is trying to do? Or is that like my bad voice inside me keeping me down so I don't get up and do something positive about it? So I learned about guilt, well, on a new level after my first daughter was born, because I couldn't be a mom to her 24/7. I needed an 8-hour break during the day because when she came home, it's not like the night was a walk in the park. So I had to outsource that. And then I felt so guilty. I'm paying for someone to watch my child right now. I'm not with her, which according to some people is horrible. What am I going to do with my time that's going to justify that? I have to do something so amazing right now because me sitting around like when I was pregnant is not good. That guilt started eating me up. It's great because once I acknowledged what was happening, I was able to create a plan, start being proactive about things. And that's when I started my journey with lots of the stuff I've been doing. So
I love how intentional you are. When we were talking off camera and I said, I love everything about the design and the photography and the level of artistic, you know, whatever, everything is just so beautiful and so put together. And you said it's all intentional. And I love that, because really amazing things don't happen on purpose, you know, by accident. You have to think it through and really make choices along the way that work with your brand. And I'm really impressed with the fact that you also do it with other parts of your life. We're really intentional about, once you figure out what the problem is, then making a roadmap and, you know, getting yourself out of it is amazing.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And in general, nothing in our life is by accident. Like if people believe in accidents and that, you know, the Big Bang Theory, then, you know, that's how your life is. But if you think Hashem has intention and purpose for every single thing, you know, whether someone cut you off in line or everything happens for a reason, and you start implementing that and being proactive, then, you know, that's a way to live.
I love that. I love that. I also bring Hashem into every interaction. And I find that, you know, somebody said today, I don't remember what the meme was, but it reminded me that I always say, thank God I have a God, because I don't know what I would do without him. I just don't, you know. There's something so grounding about knowing that, like, that is, oh yeah, it was a meme about like, oh, the world is going crazy. And then it's a Peanuts thing. And then he says, oh, at least Hashem isn't changing. Like, he's the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And that was so beautiful. And yeah, that's exactly it. I love that.
Also, it's really a coping mechanism to be able to accomplish, to, you know, still be a mindful and present mother, do all the things that a mom needs to do, and build a business, and be a great wife, and all these things. If you're just going with the flow, you might not be able to check everything off your list at the end of the day. But if you plan your days and plan your weeks and months very intentionally, it's a way to set yourself up for success instead of just having excuses, just throw everything out. And, you know, there will be tons of things thrown at you as a mom, as a wife, as an entrepreneur. And if you're not prepared, you're going to shut down.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Yesterday, I had a client who said he's not religious enough, you know, because there in marriage, there are two types, and I deal with the type that the woman is on top. There's either he's on top and I feel like a failure and nothing, and I'm always being, you know, blah, blah, blah. Or I'm on top and I'm trying to help him and I'm trying to tell him and he's not enough. And so, you know, I'm sort of pushing him down by trying to help him, and it's not really working. In both situations, they're not good. But the one I really focus on is the one where we're on top, because that's where I used to be. I mean, it's just how it is. That's how I had to grow up and find the, you know, the things that work for me. Ideally, you should be equal, right? That's the ideal. So she says, he's not religious enough. He's not healthy enough. He's not successful enough. And I'm up here and he's not religious, and he's not. Oh, did I lose you? Okay. And I told her, I said, notice they're using him as an excuse. If you want to get more religious and he's the one holding you back, that's just an excuse. You have what you can control. You can control your thoughts, your actions, your emotions, your everything. You can control what you can control. You can't control him. So stop trying to change him and focus on yourself. That was such a breakthrough for her. And the same thing, you know, the amount of excuses we use for, oh, I'm not going to do that because it's going to hurt his feelings that I'm on live and he's not, or that I'm getting 10 people watching and he only gets 3, and whatever it is that is happening there, it doesn't have to happen. It's not a good, healthy situation. When the way to solve that is just pull everything back and say, where do I have control? What can I control? Where's my power? And when I do that, then I can do anything except change other people.
Well, you could change by modeling or inspire other people by modeling.
Yeah. So that's one of the emails that I wrote recently. It was like, the magic only happens when you're not trying to make magic. And that explains exactly what I'm talking about. It's like, you will be able to change him when you finally stop trying to change him. But you can't do it by, to show him, to teach him. You have to really do it for the true reasons. And then somehow magic happens and he's finally free to make his own decisions. And then he joins the club. And even if he doesn't, you're still way more happy. You don't expect it to happen. It just sort of works itself out. It's amazing. Hashem made this world so awesome.
It's so awesome. Can I comment on what you said, unless you wanted to move on to something else?
No, go ahead, comment.
Okay, so based on what you just said, and it's very, very intertwined religiously, especially the way we were raised. I don't know if Chabad we apply them to this specifically, because I don't know if that's how they're raised, but anyone in the Litvish world, or where men are, you have to learn. Ideally, that's what you have to do in your life. And women are raised or taught to believe that their chelek and olam haba is based on their husband's spirituality. Now, what does that turn a marriage into? A marathon where the wife is the police officer for the husband's spirituality. And if that's not a recipe for a disastrous relationship, then I don't know what is. But if that's our ideal, or the environment we're setting up for a marriage spiritually, then that will translate into professionally and emotionally and all the other areas. So I disagree. Maybe somewhere, that works one way or another.
Yeah.
But anyone going into marriage, or I would educate in the opposite way. You earn your own chelek and olam haba by your behaviors, by your actions, by your abilities, by your opportunities in life, not on somebody else's, because that's going to turn you into a police officer, into a controlling spouse.
Right. There's a beautiful saying that we learned in our marriage class. It was like the first class. It was, you worry in this world, you have to worry about his olam hazeh and your olam haba. And that's how you be a good wife. You make sure he gets fed, he has what he needs, he has this olam hazeh right here. He needs everything. He has everything he needs right here in this world. And you will get your olam haba. If you worry about his olam haba, then you're not going to have this or that olam. You're not going to have anything, because you're going to mess it all up. You're going to be fighting all day and at each other's throats here. And then in the next world, you're just going to be like, whatever. It wasn't worth anything. So that's also what, when you're attached to the result in coaching, we call it, attachment. There is such an attachment to the result of, we need to end up with a big table full of, all the greatest delicacies up there in the next world. And like, forget about it. Just do your work. You're here to work here. You're not here to worry about what are you getting out of this. That's really not the best way to do it. And I agree. That is, by the way, one of the things I see with my clients is that they worry about what will be if what he does, reflect, then what's going to be. And the answer is, don't worry. Just don't worry about it. Because what you're here for is work. I'm here to work on my marriage, on myself. And if I'm doing my job right now, it will all work out at the end. But yeah. Thank you. That was a beautiful, beautiful comment. Do you have anything else to add?
Can you be more specific? There's always something.
Well, if anybody else has any questions or wants, Nicole, I love that you're writing all your beautiful notes to me. So if you have any questions or anything that you want us to address, then comment below. And I don't know, about this or something. I'm running out of.
So let's just continue on from where we started off, where the dynamics where you have to prioritize yourself in order to start building your business or going for what you want to create. And then there can be a shift in dynamics where you went from stay-at-home mom, completely dependent on your husband financially, to suddenly you're bringing in income and you need him to take over certain home responsibilities or you need to outsource help. And those kinds of dynamics are, first of all, the fear of that potentially happening can prevent anyone from just starting. But once that does happen, there does need to be an active, you have to realize, okay, things are changing. How do we create new routines or new expectations, even though I don't like the word expectations, but how do you create a new environment for this to thrive, for this to work, and for there to be tons of mutual respect, for there to be tons of goodness come of it, because that is good when a woman is taking care of herself first. So once you go for it, there needs to be structure that is built, again, proactively and intentionally for that to thrive. Because once a woman is professionally or financially thriving, that needs to, either she needs to learn how to translate it into her home life, or it needs to be taught to her. So it's not just something you fall into and sort of gracefully know how to handle and navigate. There are new routines and new behaviors and new things that need to be implemented.
And by the way, this is where a coach would be so helpful, because I know from my experience, I love learning. I'm always picking up, I'm hearing podcasts and I'm constantly learning. And it's great to learn, but sometimes when you need to know what to do next, you just need somebody from the outside to say, this is what you need to do right now, or this is what you need to let go of. And that is one of the biggest help. I got a coach 6 months ago. I just finished my 6 months, and it was absolutely amazing because it really put me on the right track, and it made me very confident about what I'm doing. As opposed to before, I was sort of fumbling in the dark, doing all the things, trying to sort of pick and choose what was working for me. Now I feel a lot more grounded. So if you're in that place where you're feeling like you're going through a transition, or like you would like to go through a transition, that's a good time to get a coach, my friends. So Nicole is asking, how would you start?
Start exactly what?
Start, I guess, prioritizing yourself, start a new business, or start moving towards the direction of your passion. I think that's what she's saying.
If she can say that that's what she means, it's an extremely long process. I wish I could say, oh, this is how you start. But number one is really getting clarity on what it is you like doing, what it is people like paying you to do. That can be separate things. And for creative women, there's usually a list of 20 things, and half of the job is narrowing it down to the things that you can actually build upon and monetize, or people already see you as a professional in a certain area. For example, I could be talking to someone and I'm like, people are happy to pay you for this, and they're so happy to pay for this. Why are you trying to sign up for a new course so you could develop your 25th skill because you think that's going to make you money? Last week, I just spoke to someone and I was like, why are you working so hard on this thing? This group, it has to be perfect, and this launch. I said, there are people right now waiting for you to offer them something today. He messaged me 3 days later. He's like, oh, I already signed up a person and I'm speaking to 5 more people this week. So a big job for creatives, anyone who's doing something, a little out of the box or something on their own, and entrepreneurs all fall into that category, narrowing it down, really focusing in and getting clarity. And very often for super talented people, they have to separate their dream projects from their monetizing skills, as I would classify them, because they may be different. For once, you might not want to monetize your dream projects. First of all, it's really hard. It can be really hard unless you have a big brand. And number two, you don't want to put the expectation of selling it if you just want to put your heart and soul into it without having to commercialize it. But if you do use your skills you do have that people are thrilled to pay you for, and then you take some of that income and pour it into your passion project, first of all, it can bring you to a place where people will pay you for your passion project, but also it will keep the light, joy, and happiness with that. We don't want to spoil it until it's ripe enough to earn on its own. So that's some of the work we do.
I like that. I like that. So I would say, how would you start? Start with one thing that brings you joy and makes you really, really happy. And it has nothing to do with your business or anything else. It's not a chore. It's not a thing. It's like, think about it really hard. One thing that you could do every single day for 15 minutes or less, you know, and it's so individual for each person that it's not something that I could say like, oh, you know, you should journal or you should pray or you should take a nap or you should eat salad or you should take a shower. I mean, there was one lady I worked with who said putting on my contacts instead of my glasses makes the entire day different. And that's something I can't relate to because I hated my contacts and threw them out probably like less than 2 minutes after I had a wedding. I really couldn't stand them. But for her, it really made a difference. There was another person who did like one YouTube video of dance every single day. Like, it really doesn't matter what you choose. Oh, I had one lady who took upon herself to drum every day because drumming makes her happy. And really just 10 minutes of drumming, and it changes everything. When you put what makes you happy, the thing that fills you up as number one priority today, like every single day, and track it so that you actually know when you did and when you didn't do it, you will see side effects to that because you're finally filling yourself up and it's been empty for a while because it's just part of life. That's how it is. You know, we get into these ruts of running and just getting things done. And that's okay. It's part of life. But it's also time to get out of that and be able to really thrive. So that's the one thing I would say is pick one thing and stick to it.
Yours was definitely more practical. Mine was more, that's what I tell people when they ask me.
No, but it's good. I think it's, you know, it's always good to have different people giving different advice because she says, thank you. Thank you, Nicole. We love your questions. You could send them all our way, but our time is almost up. So if you have anything, just send it now. It's really good to have multiple people. And that's why I love having guests on my show. Because when I was doing videos on my own, I wasn't like, you know, it wasn't flowing as much. It wasn't coming out. I had to say things multiple times for it to be just right. And my perfectionism was getting in the way. So definitely, yes, I have to, one second, what did she say? Yes, I have to get back to myself again. Yes, you do. Nicole is awesome. She's a real superwoman. I'm very proud of her. So yeah, so it's been amazing. Thank you so much for coming. Do you have anything else to add? Do you want to tell us where to find you?
Sure. So I'm on Instagram, Franciska Music, Facebook, Franciska. I run the Artpreneur Facebook group where we do lots of trainings on, you know, business stuff and things to do with audio, video, social media building, that kind of stuff. And I provide tons of free content that's awesome for anyone who wants to, you know, use it and run with it. But the clients I work with, I'm extremely exclusive about who I do work with. I need them to be on a certain level of professionalism, of commitment. And I take those women and we go for it. We run to the moon and back.
That's amazing. That is amazing. So, you know, by the way, that the holidays are coming and it's a month of crazy, you know, hectic back and forth, getting as much as you hope to get accomplished, but with less days. That's usually what it comes down to for a working woman. And one of the things that I'm finding is that working women, either if they're entrepreneurs or they're just successful at what they do when they have a job or whatever, they find it very stressful to be home so many hours for so many days in a row and to have to face the thing that they're sort of trying to run away from, because a lot of us just happen to like work more because it gives us more, you know, fulfillment and it makes us feel good. And people say, oh, you're so good. You're so wonderful. And then you're like, oh, good. I'm feeling nice about myself. And at home, they don't get that. So they don't feel as nice. And so it sort of feels like you can't run away from it anymore. And it's a time of year that, you know, is supposed to be so nice and peaceful and new beginnings and whatever, but it's sometimes the place where we have the most conflict and the most misunderstandings, the most not all rainbow and sprinkles in our marriage specifically. So I am making a holiday prep your marriage 3-part series. It's going to be every single Thursday right before the holiday. So there's 3 Thursdays in a row. And if you want, you could sign up in ConnectedForReal.com. And I am keeping it really short, 30 minutes, just to prepare yourself to change your mindset so that you can go in fully prepared. What do you say?
It sounds amazing.
Awesome. So thank you so much, especially to Nicole, for asking questions and being so much of a participant. And thank you so much to Franciska, who is amazing, and everybody should be following her and be her friend. I am, and I'm super happy. So thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you. It was such an honor.